comes up saying hard disk not found, people say, well, where does the data go? Does it go to silicon heaven? It doesn't go anywhere. It just doesn't exist. Operating system not found. Game over.
Not there, yeah.
You're done. And the worst part of it is that we don't have a static system. We even unplug the computer and you can leave it sit and all that data will still be there 30, 40 years from now. It'll still be there. But with the brain, because it runs entirely on static and has no backup system, like you would expect from an intelligent design, then there's no way we can store our information. There's no way we can be immortal. There is not a possibility of an afterlife. The afterlife is impossible.
Do you still want to maintain religious freedom laws? Like, do you, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't just owe to people's right to assert as fact things which are evidently wrong, which is basically what that means. I mean, everybody has the right, in this country at least, to believe whatever hokey nonsense.
If I wanted to believe that sugar prevented diabetes.
And that chocolate prevents cavities? Yes, that's exactly right. You're welcome to believe that. Now, the problem, of course, comes into when you start teaching it to other people.
And that leads to my next question. Do you ever think it'd be, I know this would kind of be an infringement, but do you ever think it would be beneficial to make it that, to pass a law, I don't know how they could do this, but to say that you cannot teach religion to kids until they're like 21 or something? Maybe at least it would be beneficial. I mean, I know it couldn't be done with,
I was not 21 when they taught me about Zeus and Apollo and Odin. I was a high school kid. It doesn't matter how old you are, really, when they teach you about mythology, because that's what it is. It's when you start misrepresenting the facts and start telling people that this is actually true, when there's no justification, no factual support, when there is not any statement that any religion can hold to that they can honestly say they actually know, because there is no data, no information that they can verify is actually correct, that no facts that are universally concordant with or supportive of their conclusions, that everything that they state, every religion in the world, everything they state falls into two categories only. There is that which is not evidently true and that which is evidently not true. The category for evidently true is where all the science stuff goes. So religion has stuff that you can't prove wrong and stuff that has already been proven wrong, and that's it.
With science, when we come across something that we can't understand, and of course, I'm sure you've seen that this is a tactic of many of the people who are trying to cling to the belief, they'll say, oh, we can't understand this, it must be a god. What is the tactic that we should use when we come across, say we come across something that is responsible for our existence and helps us live, but we can't account just yet for, for how it works and what it is?
Okay, once upon a time, it was believed that epilepsy was a demonic possession, and I think it was Epicurus who made the notation that if we start ascribing the powers of gods to all these natural events, there will be no end of divine influences. I would like another. Thank you.
Take another sip of this.
How do I? Let's say that again.
Oh, do you want me to ask the question again, or
no?
Oh.
Once upon a time, we thought that epilepsy was demonic possession. And once upon a time, we thought that germs were the subject of witchcraft. We didn't know anything about tectonic plates, so we figured that volcanoes were angry gods and needed to have a virgin thrown into them. We thought that lightning was gods throwing, javelins at liars and that sort of thing. And the religious explanation for everything we ever figured out has always turned out to be wrong. And the real answer, has always turned out to be a revelation of whole new fields of study far more complex and as yet unimagined by the people that came up with the God idea.
And better and more. Yeah. See, why do you think it is that people, like, have you experienced people taking offense when you question their religious beliefs even slightly? And why do you think that is? Like, obviously not all religious people do, but in the scientific community, like, and you've talked about on other videos that if you're proven wrong, you're happy to be proven wrong, and you're supposed to, when someone presents an idea, you're supposed to question it, and you know they want it to be peer reviewed and looked over. In the religious community, though, it seems that when a belief is questioned, the person will get angry about it. Like, why do you think that is?
It's not just in religion. I mean, it's for any number of things which can't be discerned by data. I mean, in many cases, your political alignment.
That's true.
You know, whether how conservative you are, not just if you're conservative, but how conservative you are, is one of those things that you might argue hotly. And how someone reacts to your choice of music or your favorite sports team or what have you can be a similar situation. If there's no hard data behind it, there's no reason to use in arguing against it. There's no way to say a right or wrong. I had people tell me my whole life when I was a kid that opinions can't be wrong. And I remember thinking, what about the racist situation? That's an opinion that is wrong. And I remember arguing as a child with grown-ups that opinions can be wrong, and let me give you some examples of that. And I was not very popular with any of my babysitters.
Is it hard to be an atheist in Texas?
Oh gosh, you want to ask her?
You can answer. You feel free to answer if you want.
You want to answer that question?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It is. Oh dear. I imagine it would, because again, I'm from the Northeast and I'm new to studying the situation, but I would imagine it would be harder in the Bible Belt. Do you wish everyone in the world was an atheist?
The atheism isn't the thing that I push for, because I know atheists who are spiritual. I know atheists who believe in homeopathy, in extraterrestrial visitors in reptilian form infiltrating our government. I'm not kidding. I know atheists who believe in herbalism and astrology and luck. So it's not that I wish that they would be atheists. I wish that they would be, critical, analytical thinkers. I wish they would be epistemists, which is an empirical rationalist. It's someone who has no beliefs that are based on faith. Everything is based on probabilities examined by the evidence at hand and implied by such. If you're skeptical, if you're analytical, rational, you're going to be atheist. And hopefully you're going to be the type of atheist that also doesn't believe in other kinds of mystical rules.
Next question is, can someone logically believe something without evidence? Now, I know it's no, but I want to run an example.
I know it's no.
Like, for example, I believe in aliens, right? Now, I have not seen an alien spaceship. I do not claim to have been abducted or anything like that, but when I look at all of the space in outer space, which as far as we know could go on forever, I mean, unless not, and there are millions of stars or billions of stars out there that a lot of them have planets around them. I think, there probably is something out there. There's probably another life form. Now, is that kind of believing without evidence because I haven't come into contact with it?
No, there's if you look at the Drake equation, which takes the period of which on Earth we've had life on, and you start measuring out the probability in years versus the probability of that number of planets equal to the number of years that we've been on. Take that as a sample set. These are the planets, say 3 billion planets or so, that have life on them. Okay. There's a probability that there's going to have some abiogenesis on other worlds. Looking at the Drake equation, the vast majority of them are going to be microbial. There will be 500 million or so that will be multicellular organisms. And of those, we would have maybe 100 that have the ability of sending radio waves. And all of them are going to be at such an obscene distance away from us that we'll never be in communication, ever. Even if we sit around and listen for each other. Because you have to look at this, the very thing that makes it a statistical certainty that there be other life somewhere out there also implies that, you know, because there are so many galaxies, how many intelligent life capable of transmitting radio waves and so on can there be in one galaxy? And with it being 200,000 years or so from one end of this one to the other, how long do we have to wait for the radio waves?
Yeah, they probably forget after a while.
Yeah, exactly. So that there's not any real probability that we're ever going to meet another life form from another world. But that's not really the question on hand for most people. Most people think that other people have evolved on other planets. How do they come up with that? I don't know. They watch too much Star Trek, I guess. They think there's Klingons out
And they're all
somewhere.
speaking English. Right?
And they all speak English. Or they're reptiles, and they're infiltrating our government.
Does the argument from complexity mean it? Like, I mean, obviously, like some people will say, look at the world, you know, look at the systems. You know, the sky was made, the fact that there's rain, you know, a certain perfect. Supposedly, if the Earth was any closer or any further away to the sun, we might not, you know, we burn or freeze. I mean, does this? Have you been presented with this argument before, and does it mean anything?
Yes. These people are unaware that the Earth has an elliptical orbit and that we regularly exceed the boundaries that they impose with no devastating loss of life. There was another aspect to that question that I think I just forgot.
Like, does it
The
mean
complexity.
the complexity?
Yeah, going back to what I said before about, you know, about diseases being caused by witchcraft, right? And then we have germ theory. How complex is germ theory? How complex is microbiology? You know, that's very complex. Now, how complex is witchcraft? And when you look at synapses and, you know, how the neurons fire and the way that they're exchanging ATP and so on, the complexity in the way that the brain really works, even when it malfunctions, far exceeds the whole idea of demonic possession.
But how about, like, when we talk about the cell, like, it doesn't make you, like, arguments for intelligent design mean nothing or whatever? Or?
Cell biology, the complexity of cell biology actually does argue against intelligent design. Because if you look at the way that the really, really, really ludicrously complex system that plant cells have to use to exchange sunlight into energy through the chloroplast. It's ridiculous. It is not something that an intelligent or efficient designer would have concocted. When I remember studying this, I'm thinking, who would come up with this? If you're going to design life forms, you wouldn't make them like this.
So at this point, I allow you to ask me any questions if you wanted.
I don't have any.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but a very wrong choice there.
No problem.
I wish you luck in your endeavor.
Thank you.
You're going to get a lot of criticism for the handheld camera.
That is true, and that I criticize myself and everything for that. That's I
You're
just
going to go back and watch the video and see every time that you did this.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm here in Dallas, Texas.
You're
At
going to
the
want a directional mic or a lapel mic.
Oh, absolutely. That's true. But this one should be okay, right? You thought?
No, it's not.
Oh,
I've tried every mic arrangement I can, and I still get people complaining on every single video that I put out that the sound is always wrong. Even when I have professional people providing the sound for me and all the audio equipment, it's still crappy sound on all my videos. I get that complaint constantly.
Well, I make it very clear that this is an amateur documentary, and I'm here in Dallas, Texas. Atlas is the Brazilian cowboy,
Yes.
with the first video for this series with the Aronra and his wife and everything. I thank you guys very much for participating. And with that, I'm going to turn off the camera.